Are you saving for a rainy day? Then here's the bad news: you are psychologically signing a contract for that rainy day. I know it sounds harsh. Maybe even heretical. But today, I'll calmly and step by step show you why saving out of fear often makes people poorer, even if they're doing everything right, not getting into bad loans, and trying to be smart. In this video, we'll look at 3 things. First, how a rainy day differs from a normal financial cushion. Second, how fear affects decisions and imperceptibly cuts your income. And third, at the end, I will give you a simple 3-step protocol on how to save so that money empowers you, not your fear. Let's start with the most common myth. Since childhood, we have been sold the idea that if you save, you will become rich. Spend less, save more, tighten your belt, give up your $5 latte, and everything will be fine. The problem is that there are 2 fundamentally different types of saving. The first type is conscious saving. When you manage your money, understand your priorities, and choose where to allocate it. This is a state of control and calm. For example, I save $2,000 a month for investments, $500 for travel, and I know why I'm doing it. The second type is panic saving. When you live in survival mode. When the thought, what if everything collapses tomorrow, is constantly in your head. And then every action is driven by fear. For example, I'm afraid to spend $100 on a nice dinner because I might need that money if I get fired. It is the second option that is most often referred to as saving for a rainy day. And here it is important to ask yourself an honest question. When you say the words "for a rainy day," what do you feel inside? Calmness? Or a picture of misfortune, loss, illness, dismissal, crisis? If a picture of misfortune arises inside, the brain perceives it not as a hypothesis, but as a future fact. And it starts to behave as if that day is already on the schedule. This is not mysticism. This is basic psychology. Our brain is designed in such a way that it does not like uncertainty. If you constantly keep the scenario "it will be bad" in your head, your brain begins to adjust its decisions to it. For example, I'd better not ask for a raise, or my boss will think I'm arrogant and fire me first in a crisis. I'd better not change jobs for a higher paying one, because my old job is stable, even if the pay is low. I'd better not invest those $10,000, let them sit in a savings account at 0.1% interest, but at least I won't lose anything. And this leads to you staying where you are, while inflation eats away at your money and fear eats away at your opportunities. Hence the first simple but very important step. Stop calling your savings a rainy day fund. Call it a peace of mind fund or a freedom fund. This isn't a play on words. It's the framing effect. The brain evaluates the same action differently depending on what it's called. When you save for a rainy day, you increase your anxiety. Every $1,000 in your account is a reminder of possible trouble. When you build a peace of mind fund, you increase your control. Every $1,000 is another brick in the foundation of your confidence. What comes next is even more important. There is a feeling that almost everyone is familiar with. When money is tight or seems to be running out, our thinking narrows dramatically. You stop thinking in terms of years, strategies, and growth. You start thinking in terms of how to make it to the next paycheck. Psychologists call this deficit thinking. Fear literally eats away at some of the brain's cognitive resources. Studies show that when under financial stress, a person's IQ temporarily drops by 13 to 14 points. It's like spending a sleepless night. And in this state, 3 things almost always happen. First, you choose not the best solution, but the quickest and safest in the short term. For example, instead of buying quality shoes for $150 that will last 3 years, you buy cheap ones for $40 that will fall apart in 6 months. Because right now, you don't want to spend $150. Second, you stop seeing opportunities. You only see risks. Your friend offers you a partnership in a small business. Is there a risk? Yes. But there is also an opportunity to earn money. A person with a scarcity mindset will say no right away, without even doing the math. Third, you start to hold on to your money. Let it sit there. Don't touch it. It's better to do nothing, even if that money is losing value due to inflation. Even if the market is growing and you're sitting on cash. A very typical example. John, 32, works as a manager and earns $5,000 a month after taxes. He saves $1,000 for a rainy day and spends $4,000 on living expenses. He has accumulated $20,000. But he is afraid to spend $2,000 on professional certification that would allow him to claim a salary of $7,000. His only argument is, what if there is a recession tomorrow and I spend the money? As a result, tomorrow comes. His income is the same, $5,000. His skills are the same. There are no more opportunities. And inflation has made his $5,000 less valuable. He faces the crisis in a much worse position than he could have if he had been earning $7,000. A financial cushion should not cause fear, but choice. If the cushion increases anxiety, it performs the opposite function. Therefore, money for peace of mind should be separated from everyday expenses and not be in front of your eyes every day. Otherwise, you will constantly activate an anxiety-inducing scenario. Now let's look at 3 key savings traps that make people poorer. The first trap is saving on growth. Saving on things that increase your cash flow, skills, health, tools, environment. When you save on growth, it's like saying to yourself, I'll stay the same, but I want different results. This is a very familiar situation. I won't buy a decent MacBook for $2,000, it's too expensive. I'll buy an old Windows laptop for $400. And then you spend hours dealing with slow loading, crashes, and programs freezing. You saved $1,600. But if your time is worth at least $30 an hour, and you lose 15 minutes a day because of a bad tool, you lose more than $2,500 a year just in downtime. Plus your nerves, or your health. I won't go to the dentist until it hurts, I'll save $150 on cleaning and examination. As a result, 2 years later, you pay $2,000 for a root canal and a crown. It is much wiser to allocate at least 1 to 3% of your income to growth. With an income of $5,000, that's only $50 to $150 per month. It's a small amount, but it's regular. Books, courses, subscriptions to professional services, networking dinners. Small investments in growth work like compound interest. Slowly but surely. The second trap is expensive cheapness. I'll buy it cheaper. Americans say, I'm not rich enough to buy cheap things. Cheap things break more often, require replacement, repair, and constant attention. As a result, they end up costing more, both in terms of money and nerves. The right question to ask before buying is not how much does it cost now, but how much will it cost me per year? Here's a simple example with a car. You can buy an old car for $5,000. But every month it requires $300 to $500 in repairs, plus it guzzles gas, plus you spend time at the service station. Or you can get a newer car for $15,000. The loan payment may be the same $300, but you're driving instead of repairing. The third trap is saving as identity. When saving becomes part of your self-image, you no longer choose. You automatically forbid yourself. The phrase "I can't afford it" without further explanation is not about money. It's about prohibition. It's a signal to the brain, we are poor, we have no resources. A different formulation is much healthier. I choose not to buy this because something else is more important right now. I choose not to buy a new iPhone because it's more important to replenish my investment portfolio right now. The brain stops feeling humiliated and starts feeling in control. For example, Mike earns $150,000 a year. That's good money. But he drives a beat-up car, wears old clothes, and never goes to restaurants because he's saving money. He considers himself thrifty. Those around him consider him stingy. But most importantly, he blocks himself from accessing an environment where people discuss big ideas and big money. Because he is afraid to spend $100 on a conference ticket. His thriftiness has become a cage. Now, here's an important point. I'm not saying don't save. I'm not encouraging you to spend everything and live for today. I'm saying, don't save out of fear. Here's a simple system that helps you get rainy days out of your head. The first block is peace of mind. A cushion for 3 to 6 months of basic expenses. If your basic expenses, rent, food, bills, are $3,000 per month, then this fund should contain between $9,000 and $18,000. No more, no less. This is money for a real emergency. The second block is growth. Skills, tools, investments. Anything that could potentially increase your income. This is where you put money for the S&P 500, education, and business. The third block is joy. Plan pleasures so you don't live in a state of constant deprivation. Spending without guilt. If you love coffee, drink coffee. If you love to travel, save up for it. This is fuel for your psyche. The fourth block is generosity. A small portion for help or gratitude, if that resonates with you. This is a powerful psychological trigger. I have enough money to share. Why does it work? Because you stop living in survive or live mode. You gain structure. And structure drastically reduces anxiety. And now, a thought that annoys many people. A financial cushion can be toxic. But only in one case, if you call it a rainy day fund and emotionally reinforce your fear every month. You open your banking app, see an account called emergency fund, but in your head you think, this is in case things go wrong, and your cortisol level rises slightly. You don't enjoy this money. You're afraid of losing it. And now, the main paradox. Poverty is more often created not by a lack of money. Poverty creates fear of not having it. A rainy day is not just a piggy bank. It's a scenario. You expect loss in advance. You start to shrink. You stop investing in growth. You choose short-term solutions. You stay where you are. And your anxiety is confirmed. Saving for a rainy day works like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You save not to make things easier, but because things will be bad. And your brain does everything it can to make sure that bad actually happens. Because it has been preparing for it. Imagine two people with the same income, say, $80,000 a year. Sarah. She calls her savings her freedom fund. She knows she has $15,000 for emergencies. She invests the rest. She spends $2,000 a year on professional development courses. She goes on vacation to recharge. She is calm. At work, she offers bold ideas because she is not afraid of being fired. She gets noticed. She gets promoted. 2 years later, her income is $110,000. Bob. He calls his savings his rainy day fund. He also has $15,000. But he wants to save $50,000 to be safe. He doesn't spend money on courses, they're expensive. He doesn't take normal vacations, they're expensive. He comes to work tired and anxious. He's afraid of making a mistake. He doesn't ask for a raise. 2 years later, his income is still $80,000, and less when you factor in inflation. He's burned out. And then there are layoffs. Who will be fired first? Active Sarah or tired Bob? Most likely Bob. That's how the rainy day arrived. Now, here is the promised 3-step protocol. Step 1. Rename your rainy day fund to Peace of Mind Fund or Freedom Fund. You can do this right now in your banking app. Go in and change the name of the account. It seems like a small thing, but words program our state of mind. Freedom Fund sounds much better than Rainy Day Fund. Step 2. Divide your money into at least 2 accounts. One is for peace of mind, high-yield savings account. We don't touch it except in real emergencies, job loss, medical bills. The second is life and growth. You're in charge here. This is where you pay for courses, trips, and a new laptop. The separation itself reduces anxiety. You see, yeah, my back is covered, and with this money I can take risks and grow. Step 3. Add a micro share to growth. Even 1%. And set up an automatic transfer. Set up an automatic transfer of 1% or 2% of each income to a separate investment account or education account. This breaks the main poverty scenario. I can't grow, it might get worse. You tell yourself, I am growing automatically. And now a question for you. What do you call your savings? And most importantly, how do you feel when you set aside those $100 or $1,000, calm and empowered, or anxious and fearful? Write about it in the comments. If you respond to such analyses, without fairy tales about successful success, but with working psychology and mathematics, subscribe. In the next video, we will analyze 3 phrases that imperceptibly block your income and prevent you from breaking through the financial ceiling.